In this podcast today, I speak with Debbie Ducille of Anna Chaplaincy and Mavis Martin, AOG's Anna Chaplain, to talk all about Anna Chaplaincy, what it is to help care for the elderly people in our churches and our society. And make sure you stick around to the end because we will be talking to Debbie and to Mavis about their favourite desserts. Now, remember, if you're an AOG minister here today, you can log this podcast on CPD. CPD is a platform where you can log and track all of your personal and professional development activities like books and podcasts and courses and things like that. So make sure you do that. Go to portal.aoggb.com and you can log that today. Right, on with the podcast. That's CPD Show. Welcome back to That CPD Show. My name is Chris and I'll be your host for today. And today I'm joined by Debbie Ducille and Mavis Martin. So welcome to both of you. Debbie and Mavis, welcome. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, I think it'd be great before we dive into talking about chaplaincy today, which I think is really brilliant, important topic, and it's part of a bit of a series that we've been doing on chaplaincy. It'd be great to kind of get a little bit of an introduction. So, Debbie, would you just like to introduce yourself, what you do? I know you're from Anna Chaplaincy, so talk to me a little bit about that, and so what you do and all those things.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, my name's Debbie. I live in Birmingham and I'm ministry lead for Anna Chaplaincy, which is part of BRF Ministries in Old Money. That's the Bible Reading Fellowship. And I know you've met one of my colleagues recently, Chris Iker, representing Messy Church. So we're a home of several ministries, all of which help enable churches, local church people, to grow in faith and to encounter God for themselves.
Yes.
In every age. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we did certainly meet with Iker and also Anna Hawken as well.
Oh,
also from the BRF fold. So it's I've got the sort of the full suite. Yes, so fantastic. Brilliant. And Mavis, great to meet with you. Would you like to tell the viewers, the listeners, a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Mavis Martin and originally from Ireland, but married a Welshman and stayed in Wales. So I live in Bridgend, which is in between Cardiff and Swansea. And I became an Anna Chaplain and life moved on from there. I have various roles, from the Mayor's Chaplain to the Welsh Guards Chaplain to a care home chaplain. I spin many plates. But I just see it as a wonderful area to serve. And my absolute passion is older people, wherever they are. That's me.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mavis. That's fantastic. Well, we are going to dive into the topic of chaplaincy today, and I'm really excited to do so. So, Debbie, I'll come to you first. It'd be great to talk a little bit about Anna Chaplaincy and what it is, and talk to me about how it all came about. So tell me a little bit about the history and of Anna Chaplaincy.
Sure. So people often ask us about the name, and of course we are linked straight away to the person of Anna, the prophet Anna in Luke's Gospel, a wonderful example of faithful older people, along with Simeon. So we're named after her, but also the name Anna means gift or grace. And we think that's really appropriate for this ministry because we're all about offering a gracious gift of presence, of ministry among older people, offering spiritual care in later life. That started, 15 years ago now. The first Anna Chaplain, or chaplain for older people, was Debbie Thrower. And some of the listeners might be familiar with her name or know her by sight. She was a BBC broadcaster and journalist for many years. And when she retired from journalism, she became the first older people's chaplain in her local town of Alton, which is down in Hampshire. And straight away she realised, I wish my parents had had this kind of gift. Just somebody who is able to gift time, compassionate listening, presence, to journey with older people towards the end of their lives. So she took it forward straight away. People started hearing about this ministry and wanted to shadow her in Hampshire, learnt more about it, and she realised very quickly this was something that could be replicated in any town, community. And that's how she approached BRF, who obviously have a genius for scaling up these grassroots ministries, like Messy Church, also from Hampshire. And it grew from there. So we're 11 years old this year as a national movement. But it's all about a grassroots ministry. It's all about local church ministry and serving their communities, an outward-facing ministry towards older people. And like any good chaplaincy, regardless of people's faith or belief or values, we're just there to gift time, presence, and listening to them.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And Mavis, you're AOG's first Anna Chaplain. So I'd love to hear your story about how you became an Anna Chaplain. So yeah, it'd be great to hear that.
Well, I had been volunteering in my local hospital as a volunteer chaplain, and I heard about Debbie's conference in Mid Wales, and I went, and on my own initiative, I just felt that was me, that was for me. So I spoke to my pastor, Vernon King, and he just caught it straight away. And he supported me the whole way through that. And I was commissioned in my local church, Emmanuel as it was then, in May 2021. And then Pastor Vernon Keane went to the AOG National Conference in the May. And there he met Grace. And he spoke to Grace and said, "You do know I have an Anna Chaplain." And she went, "No, I don't know anything about that." So Grace then rang me and we had a marvelous conversation. It was just two hearts colliding. And then I became integrated in the AOG chaplaincy. And I'm now actually humbled and privileged to serve as the AOG National Chaplaincy Lead for older people and community. So it's just wonderful how God does these things, but it's a kindred thing, so I love every minute.
Yeah, that's great, and it's certainly can hear your passion for it, but also that kind of I think anyone that's met Grace Alec, that her heart for chaplaincy really just comes through, and so that's absolutely fantastic. Debbie, I'd love to sort of dive into a little bit about Anna Chaplaincy, and I was having a look on the website. On Anna Chaplaincy's website, and just having a little look just in preparation for this podcast, and I noticed this one phrase that came up, which was you talked about spiritual care and the importance of spiritual care for older people. Talk to me about that and that term and how that's different maybe from just some social care, because I know that especially when we're thinking about care for older people, we can often think about more sort of social care or purely evangelism. Talk to me about spiritual care. Why that's so important to Anna Chaplaincy and what that involves.
Yeah, thank you. I think really, the heart of the church has always been to care, hasn't it? And I hope we're all still doing that as local churches, that pastoral care for all people who come across our through our doors is really important. But I think what has happened is that over history, typically we've seen people express that kind of care in religious terms. So it's kind of more looking after our own if they're unable to come to church, which is really important, being able to pray with other Christians, to worship with other Christians, really important things for some traditions to receive communion, for example. But I think increasingly in the UK, we're seeing more and more people who don't have a religious background, or they may have another religious background or a different system of beliefs. And I feel passionately that what we're trying to look at is the questions of what it means to be human. What brings that life and hope or sense of purpose in our lives? Well, for many of people listening to your podcast, Chris, that will of course be the person of Jesus Christ and our faith in him. But for many people, they don't have a focus that is expressed in a faith term. So I think we're wanting to talk about spiritual care, which is basically big life questions that any human being would have. You know, who am I? Who am I as I get older? Really key. What is my purpose? What are my hopes, my fears, my regrets? You know, what brings meaning to my life or kind of vitality to my life, being creative, having a sense of purpose, belonging, contributing. These are all really important elements and needs that people have regardless of their faith position. So it's all about connecting with those people, isn't it, Mavis? Yeah, you know, that you join in where they are at,
Yes.
which is a real principle of chaplaincy. It's about person-centered care. And of course, religious care, really important, meeting other Christians. Evangelism, really important. We rejoice in that. But that's not what chaplaincy is about, in my understanding. It's about meeting that person and just accompanying them wherever they are at in their lives.
Yeah, great. Mavis, I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well about spiritual care, and how does that look for you in your environment where you're serving and working and things like that?
Well, it's an interesting thing because here in Wales, there's a rich history of faith. Everybody went to church or chapel. But like Debbie said, it's important now in older years to meet them where they are, where they're at right there. And I find in the care home that the spiritual needs that I come across all the time can be lobbed into three areas: grief, guilt, and fear. And it's where they're at there at that time in their life. Now, for me, helping them into a fresh relationship with God enables them to resolve those issues through prayer, which actually empowers them. It reignites that thing. For those that don't have a faith background, it's important just to sit with them, hear their story, hear their concerns, and hear their heart. I think listening, because you could be the last person that hears their story. And that's the thing. They're valuable. But when you're in a care home, there's a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah.
A lot of time to reflect. I wish I did. I wish I could. I wish I had have said. And one of the beauties for me going in, and I always say to someone who's new in residential, who may not, or I'm unaware of their faith background, my thing is, if you have faith, that's nice. If you don't have faith, that's nice. If you don't want to talk about faith, that's nice. What can I do for you? I'm here for you. And I think it is that thing that gives them a relevance where they are. And that's just so important. That's so important. So that's my experiences in the care home. And even in Wales, with a rich history, people need to be reconnected back to God. So it's part of reconnecting them where they are right now on their journey. You have to meet them where they are. So that's my contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, you know, when you look at the statistics in the UK, where our society is increasingly becoming more aged society, where we're growing older as a society, and so it does make us think. And maybe it's maybe I'll come to you on this. It makes us think about how can we better disciple people who maybe are in care homes, or maybe they're in assisted living environments, and often we'll think about care, but often we're introducing this element of discipleship in here as well. How can we better disciple older people, and even to get to a point where they're mobilized themselves as well? And what do you think we could do to disciple the elderly people in our communities?
I think it's interesting. And one of the things that I have sort of thrown out to people is, how inclusive are we? How inclusive are we? Because you see, when older people feel included, it's so easy to mobilize them. So easy, because it's part of their journey. So one of my challenging things to people is, how inclusive are they? How do you make them feel that? You see, for them to become involved in the vision and the mission of the church, they have to understand it. So are we speaking their language? Are we saying to them, this is the vision of the church? Now, this is where we see you as playing a vital role in that, you know? Because when they understand it, they want to find their place and they want to fulfill their part, but they need to understand. And for me, it's recognizing and acknowledging their gifts. These are people that are rich in spiritual things. They've got the experience. The one with the knowledge will always be at the mercy of the one with the experience. They've experienced so many things that we can learn from. And in fact, in today's church, in today's world, they are the spiritual parents and the spiritual grandparents in the church. Everybody needs spiritual parents and spiritual grandparents. And that can be a role that is so vital and so important in the church. We can learn from them, and we have to be humble and willing to learn from them. So my question to some people is, are you intentionally inclusive when you deal with older people? Do you make it a priority to include them? Sometimes you hear the things, yes, but that was for your day, this is now. And immediately an older person will withdraw, because what they're saying is, well, my contribution doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What you're saying is, that was then, this is now. People don't want to hear what I have to say anymore. And yet, buried in the hearts of these old people are pieces of gold that we need to dig out. Pieces of gold that we will never see again. We need to create opportunities for them to use their spiritual gifts. And I have to say, in my personal experience, older people in church are some of the most faithful and dedicated intercessors that I've ever met. And it is a gift that they can exercise freely, anytime, any place. And yet it holds the church in their hands. They hold the church in their hands by their intercession. So, you see, for me, I think we have to create opportunities for them to serve safely in their church. Let's say the meters and greeters at the door. They're the people that shake your hand. Now, my husband had a great handshake, and everyone at his funeral said, when we came in through the door, I always remember his handshake. And that speaks. But people are never too old to serve in the church. But it's easy to make them feel that they are. And then they become demobilized. And that's not it. I think one of the greatest things as well with the older people in church, they're amazing at hospitality. Amazing at hospitality. They're the ones that will say, why don't you come round for a cup of tea? So they in there are reaching out, and everybody will go because you think they're lonely, but they're not really lonely. They want to engage with you. And that's precious. And of course, one of the things that has been started, which I think is the cap of it all, I'm sure you've heard about it, Debbie, the Silver Sunday. Silver Sunday comes once a year when you're supposed to celebrate the elderly in your congregations. Now, for me, I would be saying, why not have a party after church on the Sunday just to honour the elderly? have a party, give them all a little gift to say, this is for you. We honor you and we value you here. It's a family party because you are an integral part of this family. So that for me is, it's easy to mobilize people when they feel that they're a part of something. And I feel as a chaplain, you probably pick up, I'm passionate about these things. We have to be inclusive. Because if we're not inclusive, by default, we are exclusive. And that's not what it's all about for me.
And the ironic thing is, we're all getting older. If we're going to exclude older people, that will be us. It's a bit crazy, isn't it?
I heard an interesting statistic that now, where we are, since they've started keeping records in the UK, there are more people over 60 than under 30.
Under 18.
Wow.
Under 18.
And there we are.
For the first time ever. Yeah.
There we are, Daddy.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's just simply lots more of us getting older.
Yeah.
And how do we, that's a challenge, but it's also something to rejoice in and a real opportunity, I think, for churches to reconfigure what it means for ourselves personally. Who am I as I get older? This season of old age, do we look at what is possible in our old age?
I know. It is. We have such a richness in our older people in the church. There's such a richness.
Sorry, Mavis.
No, go on here.
But also, an Australian writer, Elizabeth McKinley, says that spiritual growth in later life is not only possible, it's likely. And I think that's really mind-blowing for a lot of our church leaders, that when we think about what it means to be a healthy and growing church,
yes,
we will inevitably think of different age groups. And I understand that and seek that too. But actually to see that old age is a season of life where, of course, there are great riches, as Mavis has really explained beautifully, great riches and gifts, but also great opportunity to grow and learn and grow in faith.
Absolutely. Mavis, I'd love to come to you on this. Is maybe some of the we've talked about some of the riches of people of older age, but there was also some real needs, spiritual needs, emotional needs, and it'd be really good to kind of pick out some of those kind of things. I think for church leaders listening to this, I think sometimes it's difficult to know. Okay, what are the needs that we could meet in people in older age? So what are some of the sort of those spiritual needs, emotional needs, different needs that you think that would be worth addressing for church leaders to address?
I think for church leaders, if I'm looking at it, we have to understand the person as we're getting older. And it's not about being lonely. It's about being forgotten. Who will remember me? They can be forgotten. Church visitors. Is there a rota for visiting people? Not just those within our churches who can't make it. Pastoral, absolutely vital. What I say to church leaders is, okay, like I've done, adopt a care home. Your church may be the only influence in that care home. Adopt a care home. You can go in, you can find people who do not have anyone. And you can become that person. How do you become a family to them? You see, it's not about, I remember once speaking to someone who said to me, but how are you going to get them to the church? And I said, but their next journey is in a box. How do we get the church to them? Surely we owe it to them. Have we not got a debt that we need to pay to this generation? Because we wouldn't be here without their faithfulness. Because they need to feel they belong to somebody. Grieving. They grieve. They've lost everything. They've lost their home. They've lost their independence. They've lost their freedom. They've lost their ability. that sense of value, that sense of worth. Those are the sorts of things. Fear. How do we reach out to deal with the fear? By bringing in the love of God. I think of a man when I was doing end of life, and I sat with him, and I woke up at 6 o'clock one morning and thought, I need to get to the care home. And I went and I was holding his hand. His daughter arrived an hour later. And she said to me, Mavis, I can't tell you what it means to see you sitting there holding his hand. I was afraid I wouldn't get to him in time. But to know that somebody held his hand. And that's what it's taking the church, what we have, to people. And for those within the church, how do we maintain their sense of value, their sense of purpose? It goes back to that inclusivity, the communication. They don't need somebody to listen. They actually need they do need people to listen, but they need you to hear. And that's the difference. I have seen people listening to older people speaking, but they're not hearing what's being said. And they're not hearing what is not being said. Because everybody's busy. It's almost like you want to put church, slow down. Go at the pace of that person so they have your total undivided attention. That's one of the things. They need to feel that their life still counts. No matter what they can do, no matter what they cannot do, they as an individual still counts. You've got to feel relevant, and I think for church leaders, it's saying, look at the people inside your congregation. See who has a chaplain's heart that will take it outside to those that cannot come in. I see different churches and I see people and I'm thinking, do you know what? You would be an amazing chaplain because you go and visit. You care about people outside. It goes back maybe what the scripture says about seeing people's giftings and encouraging them and nurturing them. I was blessed. My pastor, Vernon Kane, saw it. And he was right behind it. And he said, Mavis, you've got to go for it. And I think that is the thing for church leaders. Look at who you've got. See who's got that heart. See if that heart can be nurtured, developed. Because once you've got it, it becomes contagious. And you're going out. You're taking the gospel out. Somebody once said to me about doing chaplaincy. I said, I don't do chaplaincy. I am a chaplain. It's who I am. It's not what I do. And I look around and I think, leaders, look at your people. Look at those people in front of you. Who have you got that has got that heart that we can develop and go out and fulfill the call of God in their lives? Because that's what it's about, fulfilling the call of God on your life. And that's what I try and do.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Mavis. Debbie, I'd love to kind of come to you and for church leaders are thinking, this is inspiring. And I certainly, when I listen to Mavis, it's inspiring to hear it. But how can churches start offering spiritual care to older people? Where do you begin? What's a good first step?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to say pray. Pray about your community, pray over your community, and look at your community. Who's around and who isn't around.
Yeah.
Because I think I live in Birmingham, and often in cities, older people can become invisible.
Yes.
So where are older people gathering? Where are they not gathering, and why? It's kind of a sense of prayerful new eyes, isn't it, to see what might happen. This is a vision that we want the church to engage with, to be able to send out, as Mavis is saying, it's a calling, this ministry, and you can tell from Mavis, she is one of 465 Anna Chaplains who have just got this extraordinary sense of calling in their lives to serve and be present and gift their time to older people and among older people. So I think it's a sense of looking with fresh eyes at your community, to ask older people themselves what is concerning them, what are their hopes and fears, where they may feel excluded or forgotten or unseen. And particularly, I would say, I would add to what Mavis has said, is we obviously serve older people, but we are advocating for them and championing them.
Yes.
Saying loud and clear, older people matter.
Yes.
But also the people who care for them
Yes.
matter.
Yeah.
Spouses who are caring for their loved one living with dementia, professional care home staff. How do we serve and support and enable journeying with them? And it's not just for church leaders, for them to see how this fits into the wider church vision you have for your people and your communities. What are the gifts here? Because this ministry is not for everybody. It's a very sensitive ministry. A pastoral heart is needed. And to understand how to journey with others without agenda is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Follow the gifts, as Mavis has said. And of course, there are ways to learn more about spiritual care. I'm not trying to sell anything here, but there's a fantastic course that churches can buy called the Spiritual Care Series.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment. It's an in-depth course. The main tutor is Professor John Swinton from Aberdeen University. My goodness, it changed my understanding of my own aging process. It's a really great course that maybe those with pastoral hearts in your church want to just engage and commit to. Let's learn together. And there's a whole load of real great gold nuggets in that course for people to share together, and it will shape that ministry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Debbie. And I guess there'll be ministers that are maybe hearing this, and I've said this on the last two podcasts that we've done on chaplaincy, because I think that there will be ministers in all different areas that are thinking, there may be in a church context, but maybe feeling that call towards chaplaincy in different areas, but maybe it is in the area of becoming an Anna Chaplain.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, what's a good next step that ministers could take, or other people? I mean, I don't want to sort of just limit it just to sort of AOG ministers. Obviously, this podcast is for AOG ministers. So let's start there and maybe widen it to some of the maybe people in the congregation as well.
Sure. Yeah, let's start there. I mean, for church leaders, we would want them to really see the vision and understand it. We want them to have all the information they need. So we offer regular introduction Zooms. We have an information pack that people get the vision and a model of this ministry, because it is just one model, but we think and know now, 10 years in, it's a really effective model of ministry among older people. It's a matter of discernment and calling, isn't it? We want people to prayerfully consider this with elders in your church. And for church leaders, how might this fit or complement what they're already doing pastorally? What would it look like for them to be released into their community in really specific ways? Or, as Mavis has encouraged, to look across your congregation and your people and just see who has that chaplain's heart, the sensitivity to and gift of time. Gosh, that's a hard one, isn't it? You think it's the easiest thing in the world. Oh, who's got time to do this? What a gift that is in our society these days, to give time and attention to another human being. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But what a gift.
Yes.
And then we are always delighted. We take a really relational approach with churches. We want to make sure this is held well. So we have a pretty robust model of best practice, our expectations around safeguarding, of course, and training. I can say this because I don't offer the training. Our training is superb. and it's ongoing, that people feel well held and supported, part of a national movement, and affirmed in this, and a sense of community in this ministry. So I think we offer a good kind of structure that helps people, but it's all about what is happening in your community. And the last thing I would just want to add is that we rejoice in being across all denominations.
Yes.
So we really encourage churches, if you're one of 6 churches in your town, what are other churches doing? Can you work together in this ministry? It makes sense, doesn't it? So join with other church leaders, talk it out. What is possible? What is your heart and vision for your community together?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Debbie. Well, I think it's just a really brilliant topic to dive into. The importance of how do we disciple, care for the older people in our churches, but also in our communities as well. So thank you for taking the time. Now, we're not finished yet, because what is very important is, whilst we always talk about something that's going to be developmental for ministers, we also, of course, talk about dessert. And now the good thing is, I get 2 helpings of dessert today, because Debbie, I get to ask you, and then Mavis, I also get to ask you. So I'm going to start with Debbie. Debbie, I'm going to ask you now, what is your favourite dessert?
I was thinking about that earlier, Chris, and I thought it's pretty much my same answer. If someone asks me what my favourite book is, it's always the book I've just finished. So
Right.
I've literally just finished eating homemade apple crumble, because it's the best. Not the shop bought stuff. Apple crumble today.
Yes,
But that's me in the spring. I don't know what it would be.
Oh, right. Okay. So it's a changeable one. Okay, that's fine.
It might
Now,
change.
I've never actually done the stats on it, but I think I did it a number of podcasts ago, but it was a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure that apple crumble does come up the top. Now, what are you having that with? Are you having that with custard, cream, ice cream, a mixture? What are you going for with it?
Custard or ice cream. I'm not a cream girl.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice. A good solid
Or
choice
cheese.
there. Cheese.
Yeah, I'm from Manchester, so
Right.
apple pie you have with a slice of
Yes.
lemon.
Ah, yeah. Now I have heard of this, never tried it, but I'm someone that likes the kind of the mixing of, trying to put something that might be a little bit interesting
Give it
in
a
there.
go.
So yeah, I think I might have to give it a go. So
Can't
very
believe
good.
it. Can't believe it.
Be disappointed, Mavis.
Well, Mavis, I'll come to you in which case, Mavis, what is your favourite dessert?
I'm going to be very dull after that. I like pavlova smothered in fresh cream.
Oh, that's a great choice. A very summery choice, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Followed by a treadmill. Not. Oh, oh. Or feeling that pavlova with vanilla ice cream, but I prefer the runny cream because it's
Right.
rich.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is very good. And have you got a perfect occasion for that? Where would you have that? Because for me, pavlova. When I think of pavlova, I think of like kind of a bring in chair lunch kind of style.
Oh, well, it has to be a birthday party. My contribution to a birthday party, and that's to make sure that I get a pavlova.
And so
It's not. Yeah.
So you make your own pavlova? Is that?
Oh no, it's strategic. I take a pavlova. So when they say, "What would you like for a pudding?" I go, "Oh, I'll have a pavlova," because if I don't take one, everybody looks at you and says, "Oh, we haven't got one of those." Well, you can have fruit and ice cream, or you can have gatto. And I'm thinking, I just want a pavlova, so I take one. It's very strategic. Then I know I get it.
Brilliant.
A whole one, Mavis.
I'm very territorial when it comes to my pavlova.
That is
Bear it in
brilliant.
mind.
A strategic pavlova. I'm really in approval of this. I think that's a great idea. So brilliant. Debbie and Mavis, thank you so much for taking the time for joining me today. I've really enjoyed it. So talking about Anna Chaplaincy and just the important work that you do. And so thank you for what you do and your contribution to the body of Christ and just seeing his kingdom just spread around the world and doing it in the lives of the important elderly people we have in our nation. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for joining me today as well. So it's been great to chat with you today. So thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Mavis.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Brilliant. And I will see you for a strategic Pavlova very soon.
Me too.
Yeah, it's on the case.
Thank you for listening to this episode of That CPD Show. For more episodes, why not subscribe and give us a review? It really helps us out. See you next time.